Okay guys, this is a continuation video on some bar maintenance tips, and I shown in the short how this particular bar, as nasty as it was, has a lot of burrs on the rail. And for your saw to cut at its best, we need to knock those burrs off. So one way of doing that is with a flat file, and you come through here and you knock all the burrs off. That's definitely the cheapest way to do it. Another way, I don't even know if they make these anymore, but Ford made this, and it's a plastic carrier with a really aggressive file. I love this thing back in the day for taking burrs off. It did a great job. They also claimed you could square your rails. The rails, you could square your rails with this, and it did work, but I found that the platform wasn't really big enough to do square your rails accurately. So if you could find one of these are a great. I think the cut of the file makes it where I really enjoyed using it, but I just think there's a better way. So another way is if you can find a Sylvie bar grinder. And they're out there. They are not cheap if you can find one. So what I've done is, I was in the woodworking years ago, and I owned a table saw with a 10-inch capacity. And I'll get in front of you here. And what I found on woodcraft.com is a sanding disc. It's 10-inch. The hole or the arbor fits on my table saw. You can go to your local hardware store and you can buy PSA sanding discs, and you can mount that right on that disc. And then with a table saw, you've got a huge platform for the bar. So the bar is really supported. It's better supported than the Sylvie grinder is, actually. So this is the method I used. Just because I had a table saw, and I think the sanding disc cost 23 bucks or something like that. And the replacement sanding disc sheets, they're fairly inexpensive. So if you've got a table saw, I would recommend looking into this. Not only can you knock the burrs off of the saw or off of the bar, but it does a great job of squaring the rails. And I'm going to give a quick demonstration here. You can see that it's probably time for me to replace the PSA sanding disc. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to use what I've got here. So I will install it. It's fairly simple install, just like changing a blade on your table saw. Fairly easy, and you don't need a cabinet type table saw. You don't need a contractor type table saw. You can use a benchtop table saw as long as the arbor, or as long as it'll accept a 10-inch disc and the arbor is the right size. So let me tighten this up. Put my table back in. Okay guys, here's the method on which I use. First I'll go through and knock the burr off. Flip the bar. Okay guys, just for the sake of the video, I made it short. I would actually go through and check to make sure I've got all the burrs removed. But just to streamline the video here, I'm going to assume I do. You want to knock the burrs off the side of the rails first, Make sure you go through manually and make sure all the burr is removed. And now I'll demonstrate how I square the rails. Squaring the rails is making sure each rail is the same height. In time, if your chain is off, one rail will be taller than the other one, and this is a great way to get them squared. Watch your tip. Flip the bar. Watch your tip. Okay, guys. And I don't think I did a very good job of that. How you can check to see if you've actually done a good job is to stand the bar on its end, and with a square you'll come in from the side and make sure that the bar is actually squared. So guys, those are pretty easy tips. I highly recommend, if you got a table saw, to do your barn maintenance with it. It's a great tool, and for 23 or 24 bucks from Woodcraft, the sanding disc, I mean, it just makes the table saw more versatile, and I've been using this for years, and I actually prefer the finish on the rails with a sanding disc rather than a stone. Well, I hope this helps some of you guys out, and I encourage you to keep up with your barn maintenance.